Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask Adam Live. For those of you not familiar with the show, Ask Adam Live is an acronym ASK, Always Seek Knowledge. That's part of what we hope, at least my hope, is what this podcast does for you is has you learning new things, maybe encourages you to dive a little deeper into certain subjects that we talk about and do a little bit of investigating yourself, as well as, hey, feel free and reach out if maybe you need a little bit of a nudge or encouragement. Because quite frankly, sometimes that's what we all need is just that little bit of a push to kind of get us going. We have great ideas. We have a really masterful insight to a certain product or industry or a service that we would like to perform. And unfortunately, we just don't know where to start. And it happens to the best of us. So part of this episode of Ask Adam Live is going back and talking a little bit about business. This particular episode is building your personal brand. Hi, my name is Adam Johnson. Through years of experience in sales, marketing, travel, I've learned quite a bit. Part of these episodes is to share with you the knowledge and experience that I have gathered over the years, and hopefully to share them with you, not only to give you some insight, but also maybe even motivate you to do something that, well, is something you've always wanted to do. Because at the end of the day, quite frankly, my goal, because I feel like I already innately have it within me, and I find more and more individuals, clients, and those that I talk to that just don't have that drive. And I want to share with you my drive to encourage you to have your drive that allows you to then start to find your unique self and how you may begin to make your world great. Welcome to the show, Building Your Personal Brand. You know, in today's digital age, it's not necessarily as easy to do it, but by the same token, I also think it's easier. And I say that coming from being in the real estate world of marketing and sales, where it was around early 2000, and that early 2000 decade, internet was just getting started. Not everybody was there. And so looking for your ideal customer and putting a lot of content out on the web, they weren't really looking. They were still looking at print media. And I guess I could kind of see the writing on the wall even then that print media was kind of fading out. And some of that was the conversations with those individuals soliciting print media, how, gosh, I don't want to use the term desperate, but they were really trying extra hard to get you into their publication. And man, whatever they could say, whatever they could do, they could negotiate the price, maybe give you a little bit more of the square space on a page. You know, we can give you double the space for a little lesser value. Can you commit? I've had those conversations. And you know, in today's digital world, it's actually pretty easy to just get out there. Each one of the platforms have a page, have that page described, put lots of content. One of my fans, and I'm sure maybe yours, if not, you need to be on social media a little bit more, but Gary V talks about content constantly and just putting it out there, getting it out there. He also has some wonderful pages, so certainly subscribe to his pages and absorb that content. It honestly is priceless. The fact that he's just giving it away yeah, he's a baller because that's just like throwing money in the air. The gems that he offers out there, basically free of charge. And that's pretty much what I'm sharing with you is to just to get out there to provide some of that content. You know, it's a reflection of who you are and what you stand for and how you want to be perceived in your industry and beyond, wherever your industry may be taking you or whatever your eventual goal is in this career path that you're taking, where do you want to be and how do you want people to see you? That being the case, you need to really focus on what your brand, what it's going to look like. And it's going to alter. You're going to tweak it. You might soften the edges or sharpen the lines or something on your logo, but it's pretty much going to be the same. And you may alter some of the colors of your brand, but it's pretty much going to be the same, right? You take Coca-Cola, it's always been red and white. You take Pepsi, it's been red, white, and blue. Now they've altered through the years a little bit of what that Pepsi or Coke logo looks like, but at the end of the day, it's still, they're not messing with perfection. So get your mindset or your vision, if you will, of what your brand colors are, what you want to be perceived as, and to start working on that logo of how people are going to recognize you, because it's going to last for a while. I believe in you that the business and the mindset that you have that you're looking to create is going to be something substantial for everyone to want to be a part of. So remember, it's going to last a while, but don't get too hung up on whether the fine lines or the soft edges at this point. Just start fostering that idea. And again, just getting content out there, I think, is big. Clarifying your values and expertise is the first thing you want to be looking at. Your core values is identify what truly motivates you and the principles you refuse to compromise on. I actually have a list of 7 principles that I go by with regards to my business. You want to do the same. What are the core why you're doing it, to whom who is your ideal client or customer, and what are you providing to them, and how you don't sway left or right from any of those statements is what we call principles. So set yourself up on those principles, as well as some values that will form the foundation of your personal brand and of your voice. And again, it's going to evolve a little bit, so don't get too hung up that it doesn't sound like the radio voice of the announcer. Again, it's your brand. And when you provide great value and content to your clients and customers, they're going to help evolve your brand just the same. Define your brand message. What's your elevator pitch, as they always said? And the elevator pitch is basically, the statement elevator pitch came from pretty much the distance from the ground floor to any floor in a building. Usually about 5 to 10 floors was the average building back in the day. Obviously, if you're, one of the larger skyscrapers that are out in the skylines today of some major cities, you're talking 86 floors to some degree. Although the high-speed lifting mechanisms of those elevators, you still have about a minute or two. So what is your 30-second spiel? Or maybe your 3 to 5 minute, tell me about your company, what do you do? You got to get all of that sort of bundled in. And it doesn't just want to be the cuts of words where you're skipping through, but it needs to be concise, to the point, and to share exactly what it is you do. So when I'm walking out of that elevator, I know who I just rode to the 10th floor with and what they do and what they're about and why they're doing it. So work on that elevator pitch. Again, you summarize who you are and the value you provide and the belief of that value in a compelling sentence or two. Again, 3 to 5 minutes might be a little bit of stretch. I like to keep it less than a minute. Quite frankly, if you can get it down to about 35 to 37 seconds, you're aces. You've really got it captured. And part of that elevator pitch is going to be sort of discussing who your target audience is as well. Not only do I want to know what you're doing, but I want to know for whom you're doing it for. So know who your target audience, and you want to understand who it is you're trying to reach. So maybe you're providing services for the elderly community. Well, you might not necessarily want to be fully engaged in social media where mailings and newspaper that still exist is kind of where those individuals are still getting their information from. That makes sense? Now, however, if you're looking at the younger youth market, well, now that's going to get slightly tricky. And not to discriminate or segregate, but there is a really interesting fine line. And again, because technology is moving at the light of speed, that there's kind of the face group, and then there's the TikTok group. So the even younger audience is really on TikTok. And Facebook is almost like the Encyclopedia Britannica, if anyone is still familiar with those books that always remained on the shelf in many a household. They got sold a batch of books, had a lot of information in it, but just nobody picks up books anymore and reads them. So that's kind of my analogy, is that TikTok crowd, and again, they're your 3 to 5 second pitch is about what they're looking for, as well as maybe even some acting and some video and displaying what it is that you do in some caricatures or cartoon-like fashion, or some acting to kind of get your message to resonate. It's not just, hey, here's what I do on a banner. Yeah, it's kind of boring, and not everyone's going to resonate. So to truly get the audience that you're looking for, you want to craft that message in that kind of medium that they're looking at, that tailors directly to their needs, challenges, and aspirations. Craft a consistent online presence. Now, this might be a little tough for some of you out there, and there are tools in place that can actually help you a little bit better. But you, like Gary Vee says, you really have to have that content put together, and you've got to put it out in a pretty consistent manner. Feel like putting a post up today, and a couple of weeks later, feel like putting a post up tomorrow. It's not going to fly. You're going to get lost in the weeds, and people are going to honestly forget about you and what you do. And you could have a shiny gold, absolutely fine-tuned, perfect message that's aces. And it would be really a shame if it got lost in the weeds because you just put it up once and didn't really talk socially on your platform for another month or two. It's just going to get lost. You want about 3 to 5 social posts every 5 to 7 days, 3 to 5. And I'm not saying 3 to 5 per day. You really want to kind of stretch them and set them out. And if you really want to get aggressive, you're talking 3 posts a day at, say, 6 days a week, maybe even 7. You're talking 18 to 20 posts. And not just the same thing either. You're talking a unique statement, again, going back to your brand, going back to your mission, maybe stating your principles. Who's your ideal client or customer? And what can you say that would attract them to what you have? And don't feel like you've got to be salesy to say, here's the best deal, or the deal of the week, or I can get you the best bargain. That is sort of appealing, but it's kind of old school sales. People are really authentic these days. And I mean, just look at some of the high value, or high valued grocery stores, if you will, like Whole Foods and some of the other boutique food places. People will pay extra money for good, wholesome products. So that being said, if you're offering a good, wholesome product or service, and you're boasting out there some of the different things about that product or service in different ways, you're going to eventually capture and get the eyes and interest of your ideal client and customer. And I'm not saying trickery, I'm saying you want them to be intrigued. You want them to look and go, oh, yeah, I like that. Or, oh, that sounds healthy. Hey, that's interesting. Let me find out more. That's an interesting quote. It has me thinking. So as you present this information, you're sort of leaning into, I guess it's sort of like having a conversation with someone, right? Say you're just randomly waiting for an Uber on the sidewalk, and I know it sounds a little old school, but I think people are going to get back to actually talking to each other. But you're standing there and you're having a conversation with someone, and you say, you're talking about the weather, and then you're talking about what you do, and then it sounds interesting what you do, and oh, well, how do you change people's lives? And you start discussing, not client detail, but just in general, how people have transformed under your tutelage and guidance. And then they're interested to know, how do you do that? And what are the tools that you utilize to do that? And you start to share some of the nuggets of those tools that you utilize, that they're practical and they're not too far out of reach. And now you have someone that is throwing their information at you because they want your product and service, and they want you to be in touch with them to say, hey, now's not a good time, but send me some information. Now's not a good time, but how can I get a hold of you to schedule an appointment? Now's not a good time. When can we connect? They're just going to throw their information at you. It's going to be almost that easy, but it's because you set up your principles, the why, and you know what you're doing, and you're able to convey that in short snippets and concise, right? So putting all that in place, they're going to provide you with the information, and then comes the follow-up. But again, we're kind of getting into a little bit more, just wanted to touch base slightly on kind of how we're building the business. So we're engaging and adding value in these conversations. So you're sharing with someone your insights, maybe your thought on leadership, through blog posts and social media, offering those actionable tips, and again, just genuine value. What did you find value in today? And just sort of a blanket statement of sharing with others how you found value in something you did today. You'd be amazed at how many people could relate to that, and seeing that you kind of mirror their life is, again, adopting and adapting that client or customer that sees maybe your experience. Maybe you had a good experience with a customer and you want to share that online. Maybe if you get the consent of that customer to maybe get an image of them that you can share online to say, hey, so-and-so was at the shop and was thrilled with our service. We provided them with X, Y, and Z, and they can't wait to come back again. That's huge, especially if it's somebody that's recognizable. That's even bigger. But even just kind of your best customer that's sort of random still helps to create that credibility. And when you can share several of those instances online randomly, like 3 in a day, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, you got way too many satisfied customers in a day. So you got to keep it real. And that's where you want to mix your insights, your leadership, your blog posts, your social media updates, satisfied customers, maybe some improvements or something you have in your store or an additional service that you provide. Hey, welcome this new option or that new option to our store, to our shelf, to our product line. Looking forward to getting this item next month. The heads up kind of post. You got to mix those up, sort of throw them in a blender because, yeah, if you're kind of sharing the same, you're going to slow your audience and your customer base and clientele. They're just not going to, yeah, they're not going to be as interested. You know, I guess it's going to be the Gary V show today because I keep thinking of Gary V. He shares things on stage. He shares things, random thoughts in the back of a car while he's going from point A to point B. He'll share something in a green room. He'll share something if he's at his house or his wherever the location he is, some residential location, that he just randomly pop on and do a video and say, hey, here's an experience that I just went through. I want to share with you how I, perform through it, and then let you sort of take the granules from that and make your own sandcastle. So feel free to do that too. Live reels. Hey, here's what we're putting on the shelf today. Hey, here's the new service we just got certified to carry. Here's an endorsement from a new provider. Here's, again, whatever it is that you're doing, you may think it's kind of, like you've gone through all the trouble of negotiating and getting something on your shelf, or you got a certification to provide a new something, or you got endorsed by somebody and you're kind of maybe a little shoulder heavy because of all the work that went involved. I'm going to share some neuro encoding coming at you. Pat yourself on the back and smile and hit play and record yourself at that moment that you're doing something, providing value to your business that in turn is providing value to your client and customer. Networking. Participate in industry events, webinars, and online communities. This can be done through LinkedIn, through Facebook pages. Contribute to the conversations, as well as celebrate others' success and respond authentically with feedback. Hey, if one of your competitors is providing a service to the customer and client base that you're sort of looking at over the fence, you're like, I would like some of those people to come maybe peruse my shop and my services. Say something nice about them. Say how innovative it is that they have a new product or service. And you'd be surprised that something that you do is something that's just not on their radar, or something they're just not going to do. It's not part of their principles and their values. And you may be able to exchange services. I think this is something they teach in the first year of law school, is referrals. I know it took me about 3 to 5 years to learn about it in the real estate industry, was a thing called referrals. But they're real. And you don't have to be an expert at everything, and don't feel like you have to do everything. If you have a niche that you are into, that's your principle and your values, and that's kind of your lane that you're comfortable in staying in and not interested in too much expansion, well, certainly network with somebody that does something else, especially if your client base and customer base is coming to you going, hey, do you offer that? I think one of the worst things you can do as a service provider is say no, followed by silence. I think the phrase should be, that's not something I specialize in, but I know someone I can connect you with. And it doesn't even have to be a monetary referral, as was kind of ingrained in my head in the real estate industry, was, well, don't just give away referrals, get signed paperwork that you're going to get compensated. And then you have individuals that I would talk to at the real estate conventions, and, they had really nice suits and just bragged about how their business was strictly referrals. All I do is, people come to me to do something, and all I do is refer them out. And that's how I make my living. And I'm kind of thinking, well, you're a networker, not a real estate agent. If you're just sort of pawning out your business to individuals. And that kind of, I think before the internet really got webbed up, I think a lot of people had kind of done that type of work. I don't know that it's necessarily as prevalent now because everything is online and so transparent that a local agent is local and you can find local agents just by looking online. I know it was many agents would like this would be in the city and they would connect with people in the city that were looking for agents outside of the city that they would network and connect with. And quite frankly, it was one of those businesses I was not involved with. I was more the receiver of the call. But if they had someone who was interested, they would reach out to you and say, hey, I have someone interested. To the point where now you had to sign up for a subscription to be on their list for them to recommend you with no guarantee they were recommending somebody. So that's where I kind of draw the line to say it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary value. For sure, is just to say, that's not kind of something I specialize in, but I know someone who does. I know someone who can help. Let me get you their name and number. Let me forward your information to them. And I think that kind of mutual respect between parallel businesses is kind of going to go back to the way of the future and more like bartering, if you will, where I have something that you want, you have something that I want, and we kind of exchange it without constantly putting a monetary value on it. And that allows for basically everyone to thrive in business because we're exchanging different things. And you learn through this conversation that we've had previous to this event to know what I do, that when someone's interested, you go, hey, that's not what I specialize in, but you know what? I know Adam. Let me connect you with him and he can help you. So I think you want to know your principles, know the value that you bring, and kind of know where your guardrails are. And a little bit of that is not necessarily to keep you in the trench of a particular business, but I can certainly share with you with my selling of insurance, and I did that for a while, is that you can start to spread yourself out where you're marketing and selling this insurance and that insurance. And pretty soon it was just like selling any insurance and it just gets too busy. I got to be upfront with you. It was just busy. And to me, I think that's where it kind of wasn't fun, is because there was just so much of this just smorgasbord of things to consider instead of just really mastering and being absolutely genuinely good at one particular thing, right? So that being said, don't say no. Say that's not what I specialize in. That's not what I focus on, but I know someone who can. And again, network and start going to social things, follow people socially, go to physical events where you're commingling with other individuals and understanding what they do to start building up your short list of people that you can refer to when someone comes to you and says, hey, this is what I'm looking for. If it's not in your wheelhouse, certainly share it out. Stay authentic and adaptable. Authenticity, as I mentioned before, authenticity over perfection. Show your personality, be transparent. If something becomes a little difficult, ride through it. Don't, if the logo doesn't look absolutely perfect, don't sweat it. Just have your logo out there. You can always adjust it. People won't forget who you are if you tweak it over time. And celebrate the wins, big or small. right? Again, back to what we practice in our Nero encoding is when you see a win, stop, recognize the win, pat yourself on the back, and say, yes, I am magnificent. Yes, I am awesome. Yes, I did it. Any one of those, and celebrate and feel that emotion that you get from that win, that exercise every single time. Again, big or small, because that a lot of times is what's going to get you through some of maybe the difficult places in your business, is celebrating those wins, celebrating yourself. And even if it is a small struggle, I think I've mentioned this before on other episodes, it's always fair to mention it again. If you see something or experience something or the emotions, if you will, where you're just kind of like, I really, I lost a customer. Still pat yourself on the back and smile. Not only that you recognize the fact that something occurred that maybe affected or didn't affect your business, but you need to celebrate the fact that you noticed it. If you don't notice it, then we probably need to talk and look at how you're looking at your business. But if you feel that that may be a loss, still recognize that you recognize that it was a loss or that something happened that wasn't right. Maybe it was a client or customer that wasn't satisfied. Maybe it was an employee that didn't quite perform up to company standards and you observed it or felt it or just, kind of in the room and was like, hey, I really didn't feel your energy with that client or customer. Pat yourself on the back that you're recognizing that because it means that you are a fully engaged business owner that actually feels about your business, good or bad. That warrants celebration. Authenticity fosters trust, fosters deeper connections with your audience and your client and customer. So when you're with a client or customer, and maybe it's second or third visit that they've purchased from you, find out a little bit more about them. Maybe why they're purchasing something. Maybe they're purchasing a lot of something and ask them, oh, well, what, not to be nosy, but what are you doing with this particular product? I see that you've engaged several times for this particular service. Do you enjoy it? Just to get to know who they are. Because you'll find that these deeper connections or understanding the why is going to help you be a much better business provider. I'll give you an example. Well, maybe a short story. We can call it that. I would go into the neighborhood coffee shop and I would order this specific coffee. And they'd say, anything else? And I'd say, yeah, black coffee. And I remember the gentleman behind the counter one day, and this wasn't a name brand, by the way, so I don't want to give a shout out to them. It was a neighborhood coffee shop. And they had asked, it's a very unique order you have, but then you get black coffee. I'm just curious, which is which? And I said, well, I don't know all the obnoxiousness of what goes into that cup. I don't really care that my coffee is 112 degrees, I think it was, or whatever. And all this specificity, I said, I like just black coffee, maybe a little bit of almond milk. This was for my hairdresser. When I would go get my hair cut once a month, I would stop on my way to the getting my hair cut, pick up a cup of coffee and bring it to my hairdresser as part of my attendance to my appointment. So when this barista, if you will, asked me what it was, and I explained, oh, I get coffee for the person next door. They said, I thought you did, because once in a while they will come over and they get that same order, which is quite unique. And I said, well, you can always give somebody cash as a tip, which I did anyway, as well as pay for the goods and services. But, kind of providing the unique flavor, if you will, pardon the pun, of, hey, I'm sure you're having a busy day. I'm, uh, another friendly face in the chair, and, here's a coffee because you can't get away from your performing of a service. And I think that small gesture spoke volumes, not only to them, but kind of set you unique away from everyone else being their customer. I share that with you to say is that if you, like the barista, reached out and said, hey, that's kind of a unique order, is that for yourself or someone else? Or what led you to like your coffee that way? Or, what do you enjoy about this particular product? You seem to purchase it quite often. I think finding that valuable information, reaching out as a business owner to that client and customer is speaking volumes to you that you're now interested. They're not just a volume participant in your business, that you're actually, interested in the backstory. What's behind the multiple purchases? What's behind the large volume? Say you have a specific type of goods. Maybe you sell sandwiches. Somebody comes in once a month and buys 100 sandwiches. And you're like, wow, you wiped me out. And I started to anticipate that you'd show up on the 1st or 15th or whenever it was to buy these 100 sandwiches. And you may find out they're taking those 100 sandwiches down the street and giving it to the homeless or giving it to someone in need or taking it to the women's shelter or whatever. Well, that kind of bolsters your business a little bit to say, again, because you're providing that product and service, which is going towards a charitable event. I think you could brag about that a little bit. You're not directly, it's the individual that's purchasing and buying them, but you can say that you support where they're going. And maybe you engage with them in collaboration to say, hey, because you're doing this, all right, business owners, don't beat me up. I'm gonna just throw this out there. But if they're gonna buy 100 sandwiches and you say, hey, because we're busy already making 100 sandwiches, I'm gonna go ahead and throw another 100 sandwiches in on me because I want to help contribute towards your cause of what you're doing. And by the way, can we say that we support this, whatever, the event, this cause, this group, this community? Well, now you're collaborating with your customer. What an interesting business idea this is. So again, foster trust, gets deeper conversations with your client and customer. And again, the ongoing refinement of regularly evaluating how your personal brand is received. Ask for feedback from your clients and customers. You may find that you're going to adjust your message a little bit. You may find you will adjust your visual elements, your platform to remain relevant in your industry as your goals are changing and your clients and customers are evolving. Again, don't be afraid to change a little bit. You'll find that's going to become more beneficial to adapt to your ever-changing client and customer base. Building a personal brand is an ongoing process that requires clarity of purpose, consistent effort, and a genuine connection. By identifying your core values, crafting a memorable message, and showing up authentically across all platforms, you'll cultivate a reputation that not only sets you apart, but also resonates with those you aim to serve. Embrace evolution, remain true to your essence, and watch your personal brand grow into a powerful asset for career and personal development. I hope you found value in this episode. I would ask that you click like and subscribe to tune in to other episodes where we share other ideas of thought, not only business. Today's show is focused on business, but we help work on our mindset. We help work on positivity. We just help rewire our brain because there's a lot of distractions and stuff going on out there that can get us off track sometimes. And to always be seeking knowledge and to always stay focused on our path is what is going to get you where you want to be, both physically, mentally, and quite frankly, spiritually, to live your best life. So thank you for joining me in today's episode of Ask Adam Live, Building Your Business. Now let's go out and make it a great day.